let's go to our next speaker. So, great leadership is about success, and it is not about taking or talking. No? It is about serving. Great leadership is a 3Q equation supported by courage. Okay? Courage grows each time we align IQ or the intellect, EQ or the humanity, and SQ. So the role of IQ, EQ, and SQ for developing industry leaders will be tackled by our next speaker, Miss Vivian Cruz. Vivian Cruz, a chartered professional in human resources, a global training partner of CPHR Philippines, certified coach with more than 20 years of experience as HR practitioner with track record leading HR function in a regional role and capable of managing diverse industry and culture. She is also an HR business leader, a consultant, a trainer, strategic partner. Once again, Miss Vivian Cruz. Good morning. Good afternoon,
Hi,
Vivian.
Jester. Good afternoon. Can you hear me clearly?
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Yes, so can you now see my slides, my deck?
Yeah.
Okay, so hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second Philippine HR Assembly. And thank you, CPHR and Circologica, for inviting me once again to take part in this very important event. And it's always been an honor to be part of the Philippine HR Assembly. So as we discussed, no, and I think this has always been an issue for all of us in the HR practice. And by the way, I've seen that we have a lot of students here. And so when we discuss about this 3Q, it does not apply to industry leaders as well. It also applies to everyone who is present in this room because all of us are leaders. So let me just highlight to you what we would be sharing or what we would be discussing for this afternoon. So first, we would be discussing what are those IQ, EQ, SQ. So we'll just have a refresher on what are those. And there has always been discussion between and among leaders which one is better than the other. I have read an article that says, it's more important to have EQ than IQ. And then now what is this SQ all about, no? And how that it plays in terms of the development of a leader. And then, of course, okay, in finality, we would like to understand how developing industry leaders, no, or the industry leaders or the leaders in us would be able to enhance overall intelligence so that we can be better and be more effective. So let's just have a quick overview, no, in terms of the three Qs and leadership. So again, just to highlight, when we talk about three Qs here, we're talking about the IQ, the EQ, and the SQ. So first, let's discuss about intelligence quotient or the IQ. No, so I have a funny story in here. When I was young in the HR practice, I always fear, no, whenever I would apply for a role and there would be an IQ test, no, and I will always feel like, would I pass this IQ test? Because IQ would always is always considered as a measure of our intelligence, a measure of our cognitive intellectual abilities, no, to acquire new learning, to be up to speed, no. So in a street smart concept, it talks about being smart and clever. And although I'm very comfortable when I was younger in terms of my IQ, but of course you always fear, no, or you always are scared when you would be asked, okay, to take an examination to measure it. And IQ is very important in the life of a leader, so we don't have to be very high in terms of IQ. Okay, but it is important when regards to attributes of a leader. And why do I say so? What are the attributes of a leader, no, with IQ that we can discuss on? So a leader with a high IQ is considered a problem solver. So when we talk about problem solving, we're talking here about a logical approach, a methodology that we apply to be able to understand, okay, what's causing the problem. It's our ability to understand the root cause and not just the manifestations of the issues that we are facing. So, and if we are a good problem solver, no, there is a great chance that we're able to see problems that are not yet foreseen. So if you are familiar with the concept of potential problem analysis, so a good problem solver is able to see that. So they're able to anticipate hey, what can possibly go wrong, or what can possibly be the issues that we gonna face when we talk about a particular incident or issue. Okay, and of course, no, a good problem solver is someone who is honest in terms of the data analysis that he is seeing, and is able to interpret those data objectively. Okay, so a leader with a high IQ is a problem solver. Next, no, a leader with a high IQ is an innovator. So an innovator is someone who is able to to conceptualize or to effect some changes, no, that would have positive impact, okay, to the life of a business or to your personal life, no. So one thing that Filipinos are very good at is that we are considered innovative in all of on all of the things that we're doing. So this is our capability to translate, no, idea or good or service, okay, to help our customers. So we have a lot of innovations, no, innovative products that are now available. So if you could see the when we experienced the pandemic crisis, and this is just I would like to share with you. So we've talked about wearing face mask, okay, and then we came up with a face shield. So I just forgot to put pictures, but now you could see different types of face shields which we continue to innovate, not to custom fit, because of the challenges and the obstacle or the discomfort that we are facing when we have face mask and face shield. So right now when you see a face shield, you could see already like it's already tailored fit into our face, no, okay, we can already hear, because those are some of the issues that we encountered, no, in the first few times that we are face shield, and that's a sign of being innovative. Okay, and so a good leader is able to see challenges, or to see opportunities, no, in every challenges that they face. Okay, but for me, no, what the most important thing is being agile. And being agile is our capability to quick and to learn new things. But it also talks about learning and unlearning. So when we talks about unlearning, these are unlearning the habits that we already knew will not work. Okay, in the new temporary norm, no. So but being agile also is also being inquisitive, being curious, and always seeking for questions or seeking for answers, no. And right now as I speak, no, there has been a lot of discussions in CPHR classes that I am facilitating about about the competencies that we will be requiring with to our talents, or the competencies that we need to build, no, to our existing talents, and one of those is agility. So the pandemic have really taught us how to be agile, and companies and organizations with agile leaders are the first one who's able to cope and thrive, okay, with this crisis. But um, is intelligent quotient, or is IQ embedded, and therefore we will not be able to develop it already? So it's either we have a high IQ or we have a low IQ. So my thoughts in here is yes, intelligence quotient can be developed, it can be harnessed. Okay, being a problem solver, an innovator, and agile, no, can be developed and can be harnessed by us. Okay, but the first one that we need to train is our mind and our discipline. So we have to train our mind and to be disciplined in terms of addressing issues. So for example, if we have a challenge at hand, so rather than just looking at the at the manifestations or at the symptoms, we need to apply certain discipline and really going through the manner of conducting root cause analysis. So we have to train our mind and we have to discipline ourselves so that we would be able to embed the discipline, okay, the discipline and the attributes of someone with good intelligent quotient. Second is practice, practice, practice. Di ba? As we says it, as we stretch our mind, so therefore it provides more room for us to absorb, more room for us to be able to acquire new things or new learnings. And this is now available, okay, globally to us, okay, through online learning platform, through webinars, through even YouTube. So we have to continuously enrich our mind, no, through learning, through grasping new concepts, and be able to apply it. Because if we just continue to read, continue to attend webinars like this, but we don't apply it, then it will just be considered as a stock knowledge for us. It will not be translated into competencies. Okay. So when we talk about intelligence, so this is about our cognitive ability and us being a problem solver, an innovator, okay, and an agile leader. So second is about emotional intelligence. And what we're saying here is this talks about our capacity to effectively address ourselves and other people. So emotional intelligence was actually introduced by Paul Goldman way back in 1995. And in this book that he shared to his readers, no. So Paul Goldman talk about awareness, and we talk about awareness, so he talks about how aware we are about ourselves. So, and if you notice now, no, so self mastery and self awareness has been a core competence of a leader. So self awareness is not just all about your strength. It also talks about weaknesses, and as what I always says in leadership programs, so gone are the days that leaders should be seen as supermen, superheroes, that we don't have weaknesses. Even Superman do have weakness, by the way. So self-mastery is about knowing yourself more, understanding yourself more, knowing what you're good at, and knowing what are the things that you are not capable to do or your weaknesses, so that you can find other talents to complement or supplement you, or you can find ways on how to augment those weaknesses. Then second is about awareness of others. And when we talk about awareness of others, okay, I think it would be best defined in terms of how do we empathize, okay, with other people. And empathy, as we all are all aware, talks about, okay, putting ourselves in the shoes of other people. So when we as leaders, no, one of the things that is always measured to us is that how do we show empathy? How do we show concern, no, a genuine concern, okay, to our talents. And in fact, in the pandemic crisis, or the COVID-19 issue that we faced recently and until now we're facing, is actually a test of leaders' empathy, okay, towards treating other people. So which is why if you notice, most of our agenda right now is more focused about employee well-being and employees' health. Okay, so that's talk about awareness. Then let's talk about the next agenda, which would be influence. Okay, and when we talk about influence here, so here we talk about how do you influence yourself, how do you manage yourself, how do you control your emotions, your anger, your reactions, no, to other people, and your reaction to certain events and challenges that you face as a leader. Okay, and influencing other talks about collaboration. Okay, are we a connector? Do we collaborate? Do we interact? So do we integrate processes? So these are the attributes of a leader with high emotional intelligence. And okay, just let me share to you what are the questions that we can ask ourselves to understand better our emotional intelligence. First is a question of how self-aware are we? So again, no, going back to what I've shared a while ago, it's about our strength, our weaknesses, okay, and how do we know ourselves, and how do we augment for our weaknesses. Second is how good are we in terms of reading others? Okay, how good are we in terms of being intuitive and sensible to others' feelings, so that we would understand how to manage, okay, our direct reports, our talents, and our peers. Second is, are we in control of our emotions? No, so um, I met a guy, I met a CEO. He's very good. He's very intelligent. Okay, but he admitted to me, no, that one of his Waterloo is his emotional intelligence. Okay, that he cannot control his emotions. So he's not good in terms of empathy and in terms of working with other people, because he is an introvert. Okay, and this is something that he is trying to cope up, because he knew that this is very important in his success as a leader. So how are we in terms of controlling our emotions? So in the time of crisis that we face, so we have the so-called grace under pressure, because our employees cannot see us panicking. If they see their leaders panicking, then they will panic. if they see their leaders losing hope, then they will lose hope as well. So imagine the impact that we leaders have on our people. So which is why it's very important that as leaders we are in control of our emotions. And then then lastly is that how do we influence the thoughts and the feelings of others? Okay, how do we work with them? Are we cooperative? So we've talked about being a team player in the past. So a good leader is a good team player, but it's goes beyond team playing. It also talks about collaboration, and it also talks about providing or optimizing the network contribution of your talent so that, okay, you would be able to replicate yourself in them. So how do we influence the thoughts and the feelings of other people, okay, and the thoughts and feelings, especially of our direct reports? Okay, so how do we harness emotional intelligence? Okay, I would like to share some tips to you in terms of how to increase, okay, or how to expound or harness, okay, our EQ. So first is, let's pause before we reply so that we would be able to think through, okay, what we would like to say and how are we going to connect the words with our actions. Second is, think about the why. So why do we do things? Okay, why do we do have to do it that way? Why do we have to do it this way? Okay, so that we would be mindful of other people. And then third is that remember that we are in control of ourselves. We are in control of what we would be saying. We are in control of our actions, and we are also in control of how, okay, our actions would be impacting others. Okay. And lastly is we should be able to articulate our emotions when we are expressing it to others. When I say articulating is, okay, it's about the different communication styles, okay, that we have to exercise when we are conversing or we are in a dialogue or we are talking to our talent. So we could either be very analytical if that is the requirement during the time. We can be factual by focusing on information, okay, if the focus is about numbers and how it impacts our bottom line. Okay, but when we talk about managing emotions of our people, we need to be empathic and we need to be intuitive as well. So those four communication styles is those are things that can help us in terms of articulating our emotions, okay, when managing our talents. And then of course, the last Q that we would be talking this afternoon is what we call the social intelligence or the SQ. Okay, and this is the ability to tune into other people. So SQ was first introduced by Dan Goldman as well, okay? And there has been a lot of discussion that SQ is part of EQ, okay? And that's also how I saw that in the past until way back 2018 when I attended, when I get certification in my executive coaching course that I met, and then I have a full understanding of what SQ is all about. So social intelligence is actually it's actually our ability to listen to others and to be able to express themselves. So this is now our capability to understand, okay, through active listening. And so therefore, let me just introduce to you that the first key step for us, no, okay, to develop SQ or social intelligence is active listening. So when we talk about active listening, so we are talking here of being present or being focused to the other person. Be attentive, no? Okay, and listen with empathy. So this also talks about paraphrasing to make sure that we fully understand, okay, what the person or what the receiver or what the other party is trying to convey, okay, and of course, this also talks about showing interest to what he or she is saying. Then we also need to take note about, the nonverbal cues, okay, that the other party is trying to convey to us, okay, and this would be able to, so that we would be able to understand better what they are trying to impart. Okay. And when we talk about active listening, so it also talks about asking probing questions, asking open-ended questions, which will lead me to the second important characteristics to acquire social intelligence. And this is about asking powerful questions. So when you try to ask powerful questions, it talks more about, okay, letting the person disclose themselves, letting the person provides more clarity, and letting them come up with their own options to take. So, which is very important that we ask open-ended questions so that they would be able to expound their thoughts, their insights, and their feelings. And when I look into active listening and asking powerful questions, there's one leadership skills there's one leadership skill that comes into my mind, and that is actually coaching. So coaching is a structured conversation with measurable outcome, okay, that is collaborative in nature. So in coaching, okay, as we all know, the coach do not, okay, provide you the experience that they have had, but by asking the right questions and through active listening is able to um, understand or help the coaching counterpart find the best options to take, okay, with regards to addressing the opportunities and challenges at hand. Okay, and when we talk about coaching, so as leaders, okay, as HR practitioners who are in this room, and as even as a student, so coaching is now becoming a core competence for a leader in a development culture. So let me just probably pause for a while to talk about development culture, because we are always used to the performance management system setup wherein we're trying to drive performance culture, and we're talking about performance conversation when we're in as leaders we are assessing, okay, the quality or the performance of our people. But in a development culture, leaders become coaches, okay, and the main task is to help the talent, okay, understand or have more grasp into his career aspirations, help the talent realize what the career aspirations are, okay. And this is now a new trend, okay, that is gaining popularity because it doesn't talk about the past or history, but it now talks more about future and how we can help our talents achieve their goals in terms of career. It works in the logic that if we are able to ask our or we are able to help our talents realize their career aspirations, then they would be able to help or contribute more, okay, to the organization that they are in. So, therefore, how do we enrich social intelligence? So, first, it's listen actively. Okay, so listening is also a skill that a leader must possess. Okay, we should be able to have a good grasp by trying to listen or hear to the words that they say and to the unspoken words, okay, by reading their nonverbal cues. Second is, of course, to skillfully ask questions. So when I say skillfully ask questions, so these are probing questions, probing open-ended questions that will help your coaching counterpart or your talents, think through, okay, share insights, share experiences, and find the better options to take. And then, of course, third is developing focus. So, um, when you try to listen, when you try to ask questions, and when you do coaching exercise, or when you are managing your employee in any manner, so developing focus is very important. So we need to be focused when we talk to people. We need to make sure that okay, our attention is with them, that we are with them, okay, during the exercise. And then, of course, as leaders, okay, let's grow our coaching skills. So let us be coaches to our direct reports. Let us help them realize their career aspirations and career goal. So going back to the question, so which is the most important for developing industry leaders? So we've said, yeah, gone are the days that we should focus on IQ. So EQ is now the trend. So leaders with good EQ is better than leaders with good IQ. Then now comes with social intelligence. We're saying that people with social intelligence is a lot better than leaders with EQ and IQ. So therefore, let me just go back to the question. So which is most important? Okay, when we talk about the three Qs. So is this the IQ, the EQ, or the SQ? Okay, so in the life cycle of a leader, okay, and I know some of you may disagree with me, with my thoughts, but I do believe that these three are essentially important to the success of any leader, of any talent in the organization. Okay, why do I think so? Because for me, a person with IQ is someone who is able to create strategy for the organization. So they would be able to lay down the strategic direction. They would be able to steer the organization into achieving success. So they are able to learn and unlearn things, no? And they are creative and innovative. So which is why we also need leaders, okay? Leaders also need to develop their intelligence quotient. Second for me, no, is that a leader must have EQ or the emotional intelligence. So they should be able to motivate, influence, and engage, okay, people. They should be able to drive and rally employees, no, to attain a common goal. So they should be able to inspire, okay, employees. So therefore, leaders must be empathic and collaborator. And then leaders must also possess social intelligence. So they should be able to coach, okay, and unleash the potential of their talent so that they can drive optimum performance. So they should be able to grow talents and duplicate and replicate themselves. Okay, and lastly, okay, leaders with high social intelligence are considered talent builders and developers. Okay, so because they have the mantra or they have the mindset of continuously developing others. So in a nutshell, I just would like to um leave this word to you guys. Okay, so there should be a balance, okay, with the three Qs in the life of a leader. So there will be challenges or there would be incidents or opportunities that we should demonstrate, okay, our IQ. There would also be incident and opportunity wherein EQ is needed. And there would be times, no, that all we need is to listen, okay, and to probe to our talents, okay, because they already know the best action to take. So with that, I think we can entertain questions. I'll go back to Jester first for their thoughts and appreciate your thoughts. Please feel free to send us your comments as well. Jester?
Thank you, Vivian. No? Actually, for most individuals and for actually even students, no, organizations and schools, no, capitalize in improving the IQ level, no, while EQ and SQ are being played down. So I think it's best now from this session that we learn to even capitalize on EQ as well, no, and SQ, especially in these trying times. No, EQ is very important. No, so one good question from broker Eleanor, no, Valmonte. So as a simple person and curious about our own IQ, SQ, and EQ, where can we possibly take these assessment exams for us to better know ourselves? So are they affordable?
Okay, so I'm not allowed to share different methodologies. Yes, there are online assessment tools that you can check with regards to IQ and your EQ. So mostly for EQ, I think everyone is familiar with the Bristol Myers and they're also familiar with DISC, but there are also other assessment tools which will measure your self-mastery, okay, and the way you react with others. So if I understand it correctly for DISC and Bristol Myers Briggs, so the MBTI that you're very much familiar of. You can check them online because they think they have free online assessment tool for those. For IQ, yes, there's quite a lot. There's also a lot of providers in the Philippines, no, okay, that partner with different companies in terms of rolling out assessments towards gearing their cognitive abilities, and it's actually different based on the discipline that you are in. Okay, for EQ is actually for SQ, sorry, for social intelligence, it's I have not heard of any online assessment tool that would gauge your SQ because it really talks more about your capability to listen, your capability to probe and to ask questions skillfully. So, but this social intelligence can actually be acquired. It can be learned through practice. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. So another question from Marlon Cañero. So should these three IQ, EQ, SQ be equally distributed for a successful industry leader, or is there any of the three that should prevail across situations? So kamukha
Mhm.
ng last slide mo kanina about the percentage, kung sino
Yeah,
dapat yung priority
yeah.
at
Yeah, there's no percentage, but I think it depends on the situation you are in. So during the time of the pandemic, if I can just pitch in again, because this is something that we can all relate. So I think what prevailed first, no, is our EQ, the emotional intelligence. Okay, and then we translated back to, okay, SQ and IQ. Because why? Because we have a business to run. We need to gain more profit, we have to bounce back. And part of being resilient is being agile and being able to understand what will work, okay, and how do we experiment on certain things so that we would be able to cope and thrive. But at the same time, why did I say that SQ was also practiced? At the same time, we are actively listening to our employees. We are continuously reaching out to them, okay, and in fact, we actually enjoin them to be with us in terms of the journey. Okay, which is why this is a typical, for me, a classic example wherein all of the three cues were applied, but in different contexts and in different priorities.
Thank you for that, Vivian. And those are very good questions. Now, um, those who lead will be those who serve by developing their ability to empower, inspire, and actualize their potential and the potential of others by kindling the fire of courage, integrity, and humanity that keeps them on track and fuels the determination and resiliency many lack because it is easier to manage than lead. So, again, it's very important for us to capitalize on all these quotients. So thank you again, Vivian, for a very wonderful and informative session.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much again, Jester. Thank you very much for inviting us.
Thank you. All right. Would you also like to invite them to your to our upcoming CPHR distant learning program?
Yes, by the way, on behalf of CPHR Philippines, so if you're interested to pursue your profession in HR, you would like to be certified in the HR practice, so you may want to join us, okay, in our DLP 11th program this December 4 and 5. So if you want to know more about CPHR program, you can reach out to CPHR Philippines or to Circle Logica. So, but again, this is not just a training program. This is not just all about licensing, but it's also about building an HR community and helping one another, to succeed in the HR practice. So I hope to see you, okay, in the future CPHR learning events.
Thank you again, Vivian.
Thank
Now,
you.
thank you.